Developing story: murder charges have been leveled against a Miramar-based Marine currently lying in a hospital bed. He's accused of causing a wrong-way crash over the weekend that left 2 medical students dead. And 10 News reporter Steve Fiorina is live at UCSD Medical Center, where a judge presided over the bedside arraignment there. Steve?
We understand that Jason King's blood level was tested initially at 0.145 to 0.149. That's about double the limit. We also heard here today that several witnesses said they had tried to stop him from driving. 2 UCSD Medical School students died in this head-on collision and 3 others were hurt. Their Toyota Prius was no match for a big Ford F350 truck coming at them in the wrong lane on 163 near Mission Valley early Saturday morning. We see the driver of the truck being given medical aid here, Marine Lance Corporal Jason King, based at MCAS Miramar. He had been drinking with friends at 2 different bars and warned not to drive 3 times, according to the DA.
Defendant's friend that he was at the bar with even tried to take away his keys from him, and they got into an altercation because she didn't want him driving either.
Judge Peter Detta came to UCSD Medical Center to arraign King on 2 counts of murder, gross vehicular manslaughter, driving under the influence, and other charges. The DA wants the maximum penalty, 47 years to life.
Me personally, as a human being, I think, you take a life, then you should be in prison for the rest of yours.
The 2 young women who died were Madison Cornwell, the designated driver for the med students, who had been celebrating the last day of the school year, and Anne Li Baldock, in the top of her class as they studied to be doctors. 1 classmate is reported in grave condition. The other 2 have been treated and released. King's attorney called it a tragedy. His client is in a medical halo and has a broken back.
He's going to be dealing with this for quite a long time, unfortunately. So obviously this is going to take an emotional toll, but clearly a physical toll.
The prosecutor also lamented the recent rash of DUI fatalities.
With the fact that we've had 3 in 5 weeks, people aren't getting the message.
King had attended Marine training about drinking and driving just a week before this. And when King is released from the hospital here, he will go to county jail and held under $3 million bail.
Community in mourning after a UC San Diego medical student is killed by a wrong-way driver suspected of DUI, an active-duty Marine. Eyewitness News Orange County Bureau Chief Eileen Frere is live in Rancho Santa Margarita, where Madison Cornwell is being remembered this evening. Eileen?
And Alan, Madison graduated from Santa Margarita Catholic High School several years ago in 2009, but she is remembered still by so many, so fondly. Her sister is also a senior at the school. We talked with one of her teachers who was a mentor to Madison and who also helped encourage her to go to medical school.
I was so blessed to have her in my life.
Those who knew Madison Cornwell say she stood out even as a freshman at Santa Margarita Catholic High School. Not just beautiful, but intelligent and a good athlete.
I think of someone who was just so giving, and she had so much potential.
The 23-year-old in her 2nd year of medical school at UC San Diego. Her father says she was about to leave for Malawi to work on a nutrition project for underprivileged people. She was out with friends, all fellow medical students, a last chance to say goodbye before her trip. She offered to be the designated driver. What happened next, completely out of her control.
Just a horrible crime and just a tragedy that life was lost to a drunk driver, and then to find out, hours later that it was Madison and another one of her medical school colleagues. It was devastating.
At Cornwell's high school, where her sister is a senior, a memorial sits inside the chapel, a chance for students and staff to remember her.
It's difficult. It's, just keep her in our hearts and know that, we were part of her life and she was part of ours.
The Marine accused of driving drunk on the 163 in the wrong direction and causing this deadly crash faced his victims' families today. 2 UCSD medical students were killed in that crash.
10 News reporter Vanessa Van Hafte sat in the courtroom for Jason King's hearing. And Vanessa, this was a very emotional day for everyone.
It sure was, Stephen. And just in the last 30 minutes, a judge ruled that there is enough evidence in this case for it to move to trial. But a very emotional day. A lot of tears from that Marine that has been charged with murder to the families of those 2 girls that were killed.
Lance Corporal Jason King was visibly in pain, wearing a halo. He trembled and cried when officers showed these horrific pictures of the crash he's accused of causing and the women he's accused of killing. Fellow Marine Hannah Talbot was drinking shots of Jack Daniels with King before the crash.
And would you please identify where that person is and how you know that person?
She struggled to look him in the eye.
Jason King. Do you see Mr. King in court today?
I do.
Can you please identify for the record where he is in the courtroom?
King started drinking with friends at a hotel in Mission Beach. He left to do more drinking at In Cahoots in Mission Valley, despite his friends' efforts to get him to stay. Talbot said she tried.
I told him that we should just go back to my apartment. He was in no condition to drive.
Bar manager Gary Martin testified he knew King was drunk, but the Marine blew him off.
I told him that I was concerned about his safety and that he should let us get him a Lyft or an Uber to get him a safe ride home.
And what did he say?
He said that he was good.
Martin watched King leave but never called police. Moments later, this. King was driving the wrong way on the 163, colliding head-on with this Prius full of future doctors. Madison Cornwell had no time to react. She was killed along with Anne Li Baldock. 3 others had serious injuries, including Stosh Ozog, who testified in a brace with a broken back.
And Cornwell's parents were in the front row today. They hugged each other and cried when those pictures were shown on the big screen of their daughter's car. Also here today were several students wearing lab coats. They were also very shaken by the testimony that they heard here today. If convicted, King is looking at up to 47 years to life behind bars.
Developments on this Miramar Marine accused of driving drunk, killing 2 UCSD students. Today, a judge rejected his attempts to get murder charges thrown out. 10 News reporter Steve Fiorina reveals how the deadly crash is prompting a local leader to try to change state law.
Jason King's attorney told the court that murder charges are too harsh, that this wrong-way freeway accident almost 2 years ago was not intentionally reckless.
Everything points to this being a simple, awful, horrible mistake.
The crash on Highway 163 killed 2 young UCSD medical students, Madison Cornwell and Anne Li Baldock, and 3 others were injured, as well as King, who was initially charged with DUI while he was hospitalized. Judge Joan Weber told the Marine defendant she might have considered lesser charges, but he ignored his friend's advice.
You're too drunk to drive. I'll drive you home. You can stay in my apartment. I'll call you an Uber.
King will go on trial in March, potentially facing 44 years to life if convicted.
Anne Baldock and Madison Cornwell were truly, almost unfathomably wonderful.
Nikki Herrick was an intern for San Diego Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher, who was inspired to write legislation to make it mandatory for bartenders to attend alcohol training courses.
It's a story we hear over and over and over again. Somebody has drank too much, going the wrong way on a freeway, or, swerves and hits people and ends these beautiful young lives.
Her bill was vetoed last year because it was too expensive. She's going to try again.
We're working with the ABC and seeing how we can best offer these courses at the cheapest rate.
King's blood alcohol level was measured at 0.14%, almost double the legal limit.
Even though this crash happened 2 years ago in court, it was an emotional case after San Diego lost 2 of its most promising medical students in this crash. Jason Riley King, dressed in a brand new coat, faced down the victims of a crash prosecutors allege he committed after a night of partying with his Marine buddies. Prosecutors say it was a wrong-way driving crash that killed 2 UCSD medical students and severely injured 3 others.
He knew the dangers of drinking and driving. He was warned of the consequences of driving impaired, but he chose to do it anyways, taking the life of Anne Li Baldock and Madison Cornwell.
King is charged with 2 counts of murder and has been in custody since May 15, 2015. In a strange twist to this case, defense attorneys agree with prosecutors that King is responsible for his DUI crash on the 163.
We agree that our client, Jason King, was the sole cause of this accident. That he was the sole cause of the death and the injuries.
But what defense attorneys argue is that King should be charged with vehicular manslaughter and not murder because the 21-year-old Marine at the time didn't have a true knowledge of the consequences.
Where this case should center on is his pre-existing knowledge, what he knew before he started drinking that night.
King is being held on $3 million bail. If convicted on all counts, he's facing 42 years in prison.